Arsenal defeat Chelsea 1-0 at the Emirates in the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final to book our spot in Wembley, our first cup final in 6 years. And I'm absolutely over the moon with this result. I mean, it wasn't the greatest game of all time. I think as a neutral, you'd want to get your 90 minutes back. That was pretty boring to watch, but we don't care. We were the ones that were in the driver's seat. We were the ones that had the 1-0 or the 1-goal lead, I should say. And we still get the win on the night, despite a pretty subpar performance overall, especially in an attacking sense. But yeah, man, all that I wanted from this game was to just get through to that final. And we've done it. We've done it. This semi-finals has been a hurdle for us for a while. A hurdle that we couldn't get over. You know, obviously we beat City in the FA Cup when we went on to win it in Arteta's first season. But in the 5 seasons since then, we've gotten to, I think, 4 semi-finals. And we didn't win either of them. There was the Villarreal one in the Europa League. 21-22, I think we got to the Carabao Cup final as well when we lost to Liverpool. And then last season, we got to the Carabao Cup semi-final when we got embarrassed by Newcastle. And we got outclassed by PSG in the Champions League. So it felt good to get to a semi-final and finally get over the line. Well, I say get over the line. Get to the line, because we still have a game to play on the 22nd of March at Wembley against either Man City or Newcastle. I will slightly touch on that game as well. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first half was one of the most boring halves of football I've ever watched in my life. You know, the stats were pretty much exactly even. Chelsea had a bit more of the ball. But I felt that we were in control pretty much the whole time. I mean, their only shot on target was an outside-the-box effort from Enzo Fernandez. Kepa just makes a comfortable save. They had a couple of other, really nothing chances. That was it, really. And then for us, I mean, we had that Martinelli attempt where he probably should have done better there. I'll be honest. I think that was probably the best chance of the first half. And then other than that, I mean, we really didn't have anything about. That was actually a good shot from Nketiah, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, absolutely nothing happened in that first half. I felt like we were in a pretty good position at half-time, 0-0. I wasn't really expecting much else. I was expecting it to be a pretty contained game, especially considering the fact that Chelsea played what was a pretty surprising team for me. I mean, I was expecting them to go full guns blazing. They didn't really have any injury concerns as you look here. I mean, none of these players are really going to have much of an impact. Apparently, Reece James and Neto were not even injured. Apparently, they're both fit. They were just rested ahead of the game against Wolves, which doesn't make much sense to me at all. Guys like Cole Palmer and Estevao were left on the bench, which those 3 players, I think, could have had a bigger impact if they started the game. I mean, Cole Palmer and Estevao came off the bench and did absolutely nothing. But yeah, I thought it was weird from Chelsea going with a back 5 setup. I mean, Cucurella did move into midfield at times, but overall, they really didn't put a team out that threatened us in any way. And look, I think Liam Rosinha has done a good job since he's come in. His only 2 games that were not wins were the 2 semi-finals, the 2 Arsenal games. He's won every other game that he's played, got Chelsea into the top 8 of the Champions League, hasn't, got the job done against, I think it was Charlton in the FA Cup. So he's done a decent job and they've played good football at times. But I think he got it all wrong today. I think the setup of, trying to just stay in the game until the 60th minute and then throwing everything at it in the last half hour, hoping to get a goal. Maybe if the scores were level, like maybe if you got a draw at Stamford Bridge, that would be a decent result. But when you've lost against a defence like Arsenal, a team that really doesn't allow you to get much, I think Chelsea really had to offer more in that first half and really in the first hour of the game, and they didn't, because when we got to that half hour, when they brought more quality on the pitch, I mean, if you take a look at the second half, it opened up slightly. You know, they had more shots, but I'm telling you, none of these really threatened. I mean, there was this free kick. Where was the free kick? Was it this one? Yeah, the free kick that just went straight into the wall. There was this shot on target from Acheampong, this header that, you know, Kepa was able to claim easily. The only actual proper chance that I'd say they had was this effort from Wesley Fofana, and it was just a ping ball in the 6-yard box that he was able to, you know, show out for a goal kick. That was literally it. They didn't... Look, whilst the stats show that Chelsea were the team that threatened, we had more XG because of the goal. We only had 2 shots. Obviously, Havertz, in the last kick of the game, on the counter-attack, manages to round the goalkeeper and slot it in, just similarly to his winning goal in the Champions League final for Chelsea. But yeah, despite the fact that they had these opportunities, you know, these 11 shots, they didn't really do anything. You know, some other things that Chelsea did, I noticed from set pieces, they put 3 attackers on the halfway line at times. I think it's this tactic they were trying to implement where they force us to leave more players outside the box. And look, it worked. We didn't score from a corner, but I mean, it didn't really help them. And we did have a couple of opportunities. Gabriel scuffed a header, I remembered. But yeah, that was honestly all there really is to talk about from a Chelsea perspective. They were just... I think it's one of the worst Big Six performances I've seen in a cup semi-final. I mean, ours last season was pretty bad, but considering that the money that Chelsea have spent on this squad, and look, we're the same, but I just think that they didn't really threaten at all. At least when we played Newcastle, we had opportunities. Chelsea, over the 2 legs, I think they got very fortunate that this was only 4-2. You know, this game, nothing really happened in this game, but in that first game, we should have been home. We really should have. From an Arsenal perspective, I mean, we didn't really offer anything in attack for the majority of this game. I think it's hilarious that we won on the night, considering the fact that we sort of just did the typical controlled thing from Arsenal. And I said in my preview that Arsenal are a team that knows how to stink out a game of football. We really do. If we have a lead against a team that puts out a lineup like that, where they don't really have a whole lot of quality on that pitch in the attacking sense. I mean, they've got Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, the people rage, Joao Pedro. But yeah, nothing like Liam Delap's performance on that right-hand side was genuinely abysmal. Like, he was shocking. Oh my God, he was in Nketiah's pocket the whole game. But I think that defensive performance was absolutely gladiatorial. Like, it was phenomenal, the defensive display, just limiting them to absolutely nothing. That entire back line was absolute quality. And Arsenal had a job to do, and they did it. So I'm very proud of the boys for what they were able to do in that game, get through to a cup final at Wembley. And I guess we can move on to the player ratings, because that was a pretty dead game. Like, there really wasn't much else to talk about. So here we've got the squad builder up, and let's go through it. Oh, I just realised I have put David Raya there. It was not David Raya who played this game. It was Kepa Arrizabalaga. Kepa, I'll give a 6. I mean, he didn't really have anything to do. You know, made a decent save on Enzo Fernandez. I thought his kicking was decent at times. Look, I've got to be fair, actually. I gave Raya a 7 against Leeds, and they had pretty much the same game, so I should probably give Kepa a 7 as well. I guess, you know, when you keep a clean sheet, the rating's always going to be a bit inflated. Nketiah, I'll be honest, I actually thought Nketiah had a great game. I'll give Nketiah an 8. I have been critical on him. I think defensively he is very, very rock solid, and he showed that in this game. Didn't matter if it was Liam Delap, Cole Palmer, Estevao, whoever was on that right-hand side, Nketiah did not give them a sniff. I mean, Better than Lamine Yamal apparently, this Esteval guy. Bro, I'm actually so dumb. I put Saka there as well. Bro, I am in no state of mind to be doing this. It was Madueke. Yeah, cheers. Just whatever. But yeah, look, I still think on the ball, Hincapié is quite limited. But in a game where we didn't really need him to do anything going forward, I think he put in a standout performance. I really do. I thought he had that left hand side on locks. Timber, I'll be honest, I think Timber kind of struggled if I'm being real. I'll give him a 6. Defensively, he didn't really do anything wrong. But yeah, I just thought he left a lot to be desired in attack. Even Hincapié had a couple of better moments, whereas Timber wasn't really doing anything, giving Madueke any kinds of support. And then I thought Hincapié actually had a bit of a threat on that side, and I think Pedro was the who occupied that left hand side or the right hand side of our defense. I think he was the only Chelsea attacker that got a bit of joy, if I'm being honest. So yeah, Timber gets a 6. Saliba, I'll give a 7. I think Saliba actually had a pretty below standard defensive display. I thought Pedro actually got a bit of joy out of him, as I said. But I just think Saliba, out of the whole defence, offered the most going forward. So his rating does get a bit of a boost because of that, but not his best game. Gabriel was my man of the match. I'll be honest. He was absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to give Gabriel a 9. I thought he was fantastic. Headed away absolutely everything. Made some big challenges. This guy is just phenomenal. And I've been going on about how Saliba's the best defender in the world, in my opinion. And then Gabriel puts in a performance like that. We are so blessed to have these two guys. And when we get over the line this season, when we start winning some big trophies, we are going to start putting these guys in some uncomfortable conversations. Because in terms of their performances, they're already there, people. They're already in these conversations. They just don't have the silverware to back it up. And yeah, man, when it's all said and done, if these guys retire Arsenal players, it's going to be scary, bro. Declan Rice, I'll give him a 7, but that's largely based off that assist and the second half, because I thought he was one of the worst players on the pitch in the first half. Well, for Arsenal players. And maybe that's a bit harsh, but yeah, I thought he massively struggled in the first half. The second half, he locked in defensively, and it was a good assist, so I'll give him a 7 just because of that. Zubamendi, I'll give Zubamendi a 7 as well. I thought overall he was better than Rice. I didn't think he got run through at any points in the game, but didn't really offer much in attack. So I think a 7 is just a pretty in a game where you've won and you've secured your spot in the cup final. I think a 7 is a pretty slightly above average performance. Madueke will do next. I'll give Madueke a 5. I thought he was just average, really. I think Cucurella did a very good job on him, and it wasn't that standard Cucurella performance where he'll just, kick you 7 times and then get booked, and you'll still walk away with an assist, and then his fan base will tell you that he pocketed you. That's what happens with Saka all the time. It wasn't that kind of performance. I think Cucurella genuinely locked him up. Madueke struggled in this game, which, he wasn't going to have 2 good games in a row, was he? Eberechi Eze, you know what? I'm actually going to give Eze a 7. I actually thought Eze's performance went a bit under the radar. I thought he played quite well. I thought his work rate off the ball was phenomenal. See, all the attackers had mad work rate except Madueke. Madueke was the only one that I didn't feel was really putting in a shift. Eze did. Whilst he lacked a bit of, what we want in terms of his chance creation, I think he linked up the play quite well. And in a game like this, I think his performance was decent. I didn't think he was amazing. Maybe a 7's a bit generous, but I definitely want to see Eze get a run of games in this team, because I still believe Eze has a lot to prove, a lot that he can do in this team. And unless Ødegaard has some more mentally good performance off the bench, Ødegaard wasn't even on the bench in this game. I think he's having some issues with the manager, but that's discussion for another day. Gabriel Martinelli, he was another man of the match contender. I'll give him an 8. I thought he was excellent. There were a couple moments in the final third where maybe he should have done a bit better, but his relentless pressing tonight was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. He was running his socks off for 90 minutes, and then when Trossard came on, he still stayed on that pitch. He still put in a shift. Yeah, man. Shout out to Martinelli. He was very, very good. Could have done more in attack, but this wasn't really a game when anyone in this team offered much in attack, so you can't really say too much about that. And then Gyökeres, I'm going to give a 4. Less said about him, the better. Another performance where he was just not good. Simple as that. Yeah. By far the worst player on the pitch in an Arsenal sense. And then the subs, I mean, Trossard can get a 6. Didn't really impact the game much. I mean, he was kind of involved in the goal, but that was it really. And then Havertz, I'm going to give an 8. Scored the goal, silenced the crowd, pointed to the badge, which you absolutely love. Hold that, Chelsea. These mobs can absolutely hold that. All the shit that they've been talking over the past year or so. Oh, we're world champions. Oh, we're building. Oh, we're going to overtake Arsenal. We're going to finish above them in the table. We're going to compete for the league. You're not competing for the league. You're out of the Carabao Cup. You're not going to do anything in the Champions League, trust me. The FA Cup's honestly all you got to play for. I mean, in the Champions League, we're a different breed. Yeah, cool, mate. Yeah, hold that. But yeah, man. And then Arteta, I'm going to give Arteta an 8. I thought Arteta set us up in a way that Chelsea were never really going to get much joy. If they set up in a different way and their quality players had better games, maybe they could have gotten something, but I think he knew what the assignment was, and it worked out perfectly. We're through to the final. I guess we can sort of touch on this game a bit. Tomorrow, we will find out who we'll be facing at Wembley on the 22nd of March, and I'm hoping it's interesting, I think City are obviously the better team on their day, and I do think City will go through easily. A 2-0 lead at home against Newcastle, pretty much impossible to let that slip. But I mean, City were 2-0 up against Tottenham at half-time, and we saw what happened there. But this is at the Etihad. I do think they'll go through. And look, I should probably be rooting for Newcastle because they are a worse team overall than City. But the way City have been playing, I definitely think we can get at the City team, The amount of space they leave in behind, how open the midfield is, I think we can overrun these guys. Whereas Newcastle, they always give us a game in midfield. They always do. I think we can overrun City. So I'd be a little bit nervous if Newcastle came back, because that would be a statement, winning 3-0 at the Etihad or 4-1 or whatever. Getting a win at the Etihad in this competition that they won last season, getting to 3 finals in 4 years, that would be scary. You never know what they can do on their day. Liverpool would have backed themselves to beat them last year in the final, and they got thoroughly outplayed. So you know what? I actually think that City would be an easier opponent. Look, this could come to bite me in the ass, because I said I wanted Newcastle in the semi-final last year, and we saw what happened there. But yeah, man, I'm not overly fussed. I think we're going to win the final. I'm not going to, make any crazy statements like, yeah, we're absolutely going to win it. But we have to be the favourites from here. I think we will go on to win it. But yeah, this will be interesting to see. Will City be able to get back on track after a pretty poor run of form? If you look at this, I mean, they've got back-to-back wins against Wolves and Galatasaray, but before that, I mean, massively struggled for form. Only 4 wins in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only 4 wins in 10 games against Wolves, Exeter, Galatasaray, and Newcastle. Yeah, not great, man. And I also think City's attention will kind of be turned to Anfield, which will be a very interesting game. I'll give my thoughts about that when I do my Prem predictions. But yeah, man, that's it. I know it's a pretty short one. My Arsenal match reaction, my AFC match reactions usually get to over 20 minutes. The United one was like half an hour rant. But yeah, man, we're through to Wembley, Carabao Cup final. This would be an incredible opportunity for Arsenal. To win this competition halfway through the season, it sets us up so well for the latter stages of the season. We've seen teams like Liverpool and Man United have big aspirations and not really live up to them after winning this competition. But I think it's different. It's going to be different for Arsenal. I think that for a team that hasn't really won anything recently, just getting that first trophy under our belts will be so good for the rest of the season because it will give these players a taste of success. And this isn't a squad that's going to get complacent. This isn't a squad that's going to win one League Cup and think, yeah, we're done, mate. They want to win the lot. And this will be a great, great start. But yeah, man, make sure to like the video, hype, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of the matchup. Do all that stuff. And yeah, we're through to the final. Come on, you Gunners.